Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to people online that are joining us, all the way from beautiful Mexico, and wherever Barbara is, beautiful View Royal or something like that. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. And I think I know everybody here, so I will introduce myself again. I'm Tara, and I am very excited to be hosting this morning at the Center of Love. It's amazing to me every other Sunday that I get to gift myself at this time with whoever shows up here. And I've only been a member for a few months, and so I feel really honored that our speaker today had asked me to host and introduce her. This space, the Center of Love, is becoming so special to me. When I moved here a couple of years ago with my kids, as you guys know, I didn't really know anybody, and it took me a while to make friends because I was quite discerning about who I wanted to spend my time with. Just creating this whole new life for myself and my kids. And so Naomi was one of the first people that kind of really welcomed me to her heart. And it was no surprise that when I was looking for this type of community, she had it all set up and was ready to bring me here and was inviting me to even be a speaker here, which was really cool. So so it's just exciting to be here and to really be soaking in like the sort of intention that people bring to this space every week, the Center of Love. Like, what an amazing name. It's just like, at first, I'm not gonna lie, when she said, oh, you should come to this group I go to, it's called the Center of Love, I was like, ooh, sounds a little cultish, I'm in. But when you actually think about it, and when I actually wake up every other Sunday, and I think, I'm gonna go to the Center of Love today. Like, I'm gonna go and choose to be in the Center of Love. Like, what could be a more perfect name for what we're all sort of trying to land into in our lives, right? So this is such a beautiful space of like-hearted, open-hearted, open-minded humans. And, I notice that when people host here, they're always encouraging people to bring whoever they think would benefit from being a part of this group. I feel like we're going to see it grow a lot, and I know I have people in my life and starting to collect some important friends that will fit in really well here, so I'm hoping to see that happen. I just love how we all kind of come together in meditation, in learning from each other, in humor. There's always humor here, which is just so nice, and so much vulnerable sharing as well, right? So it just feels like a gift that I'm giving to myself every time I get to come and spend time with you guys. And every speaker and everybody who's presented has just been sort of mind-blowing. So this morning, that opening song, so beautiful. I've listened to it like 10 times, and I do think there's this one line in the song that really just sums up like what we're all here for and what the intention of this group is. And it's when she sings, "The power of you and me is here to create magic on earth." Mm-hmm. I believe in that. I believe we have the power to do that. So, for many of you guys today, the speaker really needs no introduction. We all know Kressa, one of the founding members and the creator of the beautiful name of our organization. I didn't realize that it was Kressa that dreamed this up until we had a little chat about it the other day. So the Center of Love, literally, that line literally came out of your heart, which is so cool. And so I've only been getting to know Kressa for the last few months, and I am fascinated because I feel like I have known her for many, many lifetimes.
I think so too.
Yes, our stories crisscross a lot. We have a lot of things in common, and this particular incarnation in Earth School for Kressa has been definitely a full one.
Yeah,
would you say?
it continues to be.
Exactly. And from what I've learned about her, she's spent this lifetime growing and evolving exponentially. So she started off as a mom to 3 young boys. She has had a solid career as a social worker, which many of you know, caring for others, and that seems to be something that you are very good at as we move into like a more philanthropic part of your life. And she even had her own business and ran herself into exhaustion before she packed up her little car, sold all of her belongings, and drove across the country, headed west to Calgary to become a flight attendant and fulfill a lifelong dream. At 56, I'm so excited. That just makes me feel like there's so much life ahead of us. You know, if you can just switch gears like that, it's so inspiring to me. You're totally a woman after my own heart. So you've navigated change and illness and deep loss with grace. I feel this so much in my heart. It's so inspiring to me that you have spun like so many hard times into just the most magical wild ride. Like so much adventure. There's so much adventure in your life, and I feel like it's just so inspiring, and it continues to be. And we're going to talk about her philanthropic work later on when we talk about what some of the needs are. Anyways, Kressa is the author of 2 books and is currently working on another one. She's a richly resourced soul with a lot of wisdom to share, and today she's going to speak to us about the idea of stories we tell ourselves, which is interesting because that was the topic that we touched on with the last speaker. But what Kressa is going to do is take it to the next level and really show us how we can get to a place of stillness, a place of quiet and peace, a place of what you refer to as emptiness, you know, in the best way, where we're emptied of everything, and we can really start to determine and discern whether the narratives that we've created about our own lives and our own selves is actually truth, or is it fiction? So, in the spirit of being very collaborative today, we're just going to stay in circle. We're foregoing a pulpit today, which is kind of cool because it just feels good to be in circle always. And it's going to be a little interactive, which is great. And it's just an absolute honor to be able to shine the light on you today. Thank you for bringing us here. Thank you.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. So today I plan to make this very experiential. So I'm not going to sit here and blather too much, but I'd like us to kind of work together on some of these ideas. So the topic today is stories or emptiness, and which do you choose? For me personally, my journey has been a journey from the inside out. And so what are stories? Let's talk a little bit about what they are. I think stories where can they come from? They come from family, they come from the culture, they come from just experiences that we've had from other people. Most of the stories we have aren't our own. They're not generated within our own heart. They're usually generated by external circumstances. How do you feel about that? Yeah. And a lot of our stories come from culture. Like Arno and I are both Finn, and we have a very strong Finnish culture. And the word sisu is a big thing in our culture. And again, we have stories around a lot of our, that life is hard. A lot of Finns feel life is hard. It's very dark there in the wintertime. There's all kinds of stories that come from that particular culture. Also, right before Arno was born, and not long before me, my father was in the war. They had a Finnish-Russian war where Finland lost a good part of their country. So again, there's lots of stories around that. I remember growing up thinking Russians were really bad, you know, because of all those sort of stories. So they come from all kinds of conditioning. And now, I think it's even more complex because they come from media, which we didn't have. A lot of us didn't have that when we were young. Now they come from Facebook or all the stuff that's on the media. You can see that, especially with young people. I watched that with Cole. A lot of the stories that he's telling himself is like, holy shit, where did they get that from, you know? But again, a lot of that is from the media. So what's emptiness? We were having a good discussion about this yesterday. And for me, emptiness is another word, I guess, for stillness. It's that self-awareness, that quiet place inside, but it's more than that for me. We were talking about it, is there like a word? Is it peaceful? Is that the word? And no, for me, that's not the word. Again, everybody's journey in spirituality is their own journey, and we're all on this we all have our own path. And I think spirituality for me is not about concepts and ideas and words, it's about experiences. And emptiness is an experience for me that has been very profound. And for me, emptiness is when I'm not attached to anything, and I am just in this open, expansive place of the universe. And it's a pretty wild place to go to. But again, that's a personal thing for me. So emptiness might not mean the same thing for you, but that's where I'm coming from when I use the word emptiness. It's not attachment to anything external. It's just this empty, expansive, open place. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. How many people here meditate? Yeah, okay. So have you experienced that kind of emptiness when you've meditated? Yeah, so you know what, so you kind of know what that means. All right, good, cool. Okay, so again, and being a witness to her thoughts, self-awareness. This gives you, and one of the things I think about a meditation too is it gives you space between your higher self, your I am presence, your awareness, emptiness, and your thoughts. I love what Gangaji says. Fear, anger, or despair only exist when linked to a story. I'll say that again. Fear, anger, or despair only exist when linked to a story. That's a powerful statement. What do you think of that statement?
I think it's true.
Yeah.
Because without a story, then what is there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Energy like that.
Yeah. So being pure awareness or less attached to the mind and all its thinking, it makes it much easier to live in this human body, I think, for me anyway. Recognizing your story can be so healing, and I'm quoting Tara here. She says, nothing outside of ourselves can heal us like we can heal ourselves. Healing is an inside job. I totally 100% resonate with that because that was my experience. I did when I was really ill in the early 90s, I did all kinds of external things, nutrition, all kinds of stuff, not medical stuff, but herbal stuff and all kinds of stuff. But when I got what my issue was, and then everything changed. And then I just healed quickly after that. And my issue at that time was resentment. I'd had a lot of, taking care of everybody else as a social worker, as a mother, as a child. I had to take care of a lot of my family. And so I had a lot of resentment about that. And once I got that, then we were clear sailing. So healing is an inside job. And I want to read this quote. I love this quote here. These beautiful journal books that I love. The storm of our mind, our life, or the world around us can be tumultuous. At times it is truly terrifying, coming in mighty waves of intensity and gusts of raw force. It may bring up fears, old traumas, or trigger our fight or flight and survival instincts. It shakes us to our foundation, rattling the windows of our heart, tempting us to let the chaos in and to succumb to the fury of these troubled times. But if we can remember our center, our infinite spirit, we can remain steady and calm. We are witness to the madness and the confusion, and still we hold our inner peace. Our compassionate heart becomes a beacon of light in the raging storm so that others might also find the true harbor of their innermost stillness, their pure awareness, their emptiness. I love that. So I want to talk a little bit about what are some stories. So I'm going to give you some examples of some stories. So I had a friend, and as everybody knows, I used to work for WestJet. Actually, it was my 10-year, just yesterday, was my 10-year of retirement. It showed up on Facebook, and I thought, what? No, can't be 10 years. But it's been 10 years since I left. And I've used that retirement pass all the time. So at this one point, I had a friend, and I said, you know what, I get all these passes, and would you like to go to Mexico? I can put you on as a companion, and you can go really cheap. And she said, oh, no, I don't do Mexico. I said, oh, why don't, oh, okay. And I said, oh, have you been to Mexico? Oh, no, I don't do Mexico. And I thought, okay, and she's fairly self-intuitive and kind of does some of her work and stuff. But again, she had a story in her head about Mexico that was negative. And she missed out. So we never went together, and I never invited her again because, again, she had this story about Mexico, so she missed out. And so a more recent one, I think, is COVID. COVID had, oh my God, how many stories were there around COVID? Like, so many stories. It was an amazing time of storytelling. And maybe some bits of truth were in that, and maybe there was a lot that wasn't true. And I think, and again, a lot of people absorbed a lot of those stories, whether they were true or not. I know that my family, especially my son who passed away, he was totally involved in CNN, listening to it all the time, listening to all these stories, furious with me that I wasn't following those stories. I didn't watch any of the news, and he was so angry with me, and you know, it was kind of that I was, yeah, he said some unkind things just because I was trying to make a choice that worked for me. So again, I think if you didn't question those stories, then you got taken away by it, right? Mm-hmm. And I questioned them right away, just because of my intuitive senses, but also because of my past with having an immune disorder. The last thing I wanted to do was fool around with my immune system with any kind of vaccine. So again, how many of you experienced those stories during COVID?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we all did.
Yeah. And how did that affect and impact you?
Lost some people.
Yes.
Gained some others.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So here's another story, and this is an interesting one. So I was on my own. I was married twice. The second one was 22 years, and Bob and I split up. And I was on my own, and I had my own business again, something totally different than what I do now. I was more doing wellness stuff in corporations, and I was teaching at the college. And I had this dream I wanted to have my own home again. I missed my own home. I was living in in-law suites and stuff like that, and quite often, one place I lived in, she didn't fail to tell me I was living upstairs, but every spring the whole downstairs flooded, like really flooded. But she left that out of the... So I woke up one morning and the whole kitchen's full of water. So those kind of things I was living, and then also I would live somewhere, and then all of a sudden they decide to sell the house and they're moving, and then you gotta move again, right? And it happened to me a couple of times. So I wanted my own home. So I had this story though, so I was thinking about it, okay, I'd like to buy a house, and it's like, oh no, you can't do that. You have to have 2 people to buy a house, you need to be married, you need to have a second income, you're self-employed, that's a no-no in having a home. And I thought, so I really sat with all those stories, and I thought, well, I don't believe that anymore. And so the next thing I knew, I was in this beautiful place. I did a workshop. Sherry sometimes joins us here. And she was living in this beautiful place with all these townhouses. And I thought, I could live here. So I sent a letter out to all the people in the area where I wanted to live. And sure enough that I wanted to buy. And sure enough, this lady responded. And the price in my head was the price she asked for. And all the finances, I don't know how they worked out, but they all just worked out. And it was meant to be. And I did. I bought that house. It was a townhouse, and I loved it. It had an automatic garage door opener, which is wonderful in Ontario in the winter. But again, I would not have been able to do that if I had kept that story. If I'd had that old story, that wouldn't have worked out. And I'll never forget getting the keys. Oh my God, the euphoria I felt when I got those keys in my hand and I opened the door, and I thought, this is the first home I've ever bought by myself without anybody else. So yeah, so I think stories can be very limiting and can keep us stuck in fear.